Algebra 2, 8.6a, we're going to solve second-degree formulas for a given letter. If you've missed any of the previous videos for Chapter 8, they're linked in this video's description. So if you become lost or confused, just watch those and you should be okay. In most formulas, the variables represent measurable, non-negative quantities. This means that we have no need for absolute value signs when taking principal square roots. So height is not going to be a negative, and speed of a car or a truck is not going to be negative, right? The operations of squaring and taking roots are inverse operations, which means performing one after the other brings us to the original expression. And remember, if the same operation is applied to both sides of an equation, of a true equation, we get another true equation, don't we? So we've got our little guy throwing a ball here. The height of an object that's been fired upward with an initial velocity, v sub 0, at any given time, t, is given by this formula, h equals v sub 0 t minus 16t squared. And the h is in feet, the t is in seconds, and this v sub 0, that little tiny 0, this subscript 0 means initial. That tells us it's the initial velocity. It's the first velocity. That's in feet per second. And how long the object has been in the air, given it's at height h and was thrown at initial velocity. Can we find t if we know h and that initial velocity? Well, we can solve a second-degree formula for a given letter. First, we need to make sure that our equation is in standard form of a quadratic equation, or our formula is in the standard form of a quadratic equation. So to solve h equals v sub 0 t minus 16t squared for t, the time an object is in the air, given h, the height of the object, and v sub 0, that initial velocity, we need to put it into standard form first. So we could subtract v sub 0 t from each side of this equation, and now we have a negative 1 on this side plus the h. Then we can add 16t squared to each side of the equation, and now this side is set to equal 0, and we've got 16t squared minus v sub 0 t plus h equals 0. Now, if this were a quadratic formula, like this, with the ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, this would be our a, this would be our b, and that would be our c. So our a is 16, our b is a negative v sub 0, and our c is the letter h. And we can substitute and plug these into the quadratic formula. So because we have a negative b here, we're going to have a negative of a negative v sub 0, and inside the radical sign as our discriminant, we're going to have b squared, so we're going to have negative v sub 0 squared. We're going to have minus 4 and our a value and our c value multiplied. So we've got 16 times h. When we simplify this, this negative can be distributed into the parentheses to make that a positive. And we've got negative 4 times 16, which is a negative 64h. 2 times 16 is 32, because that's our a, right? So we want to multiply it by a. So that means, because this is a plus and a minus, our solutions are t equals this with the plus sign, or t equals this with the minus sign. See that? And if we know what this initial velocity is, we can plug that into these equations and solve it for t. And since h is non-negative, because height isn't negative, both of these give non-negative values for t. All right? And this can be used, this method we just did can be used for a formula for volume or surface area or any one. Just put it into a standard form of a quadratic equation, plug the information into the formula, and solve it for that letter. Okay? Our next video, 8.6b, we're going to solve some more of these. I'm going to put this video into the Algebra 2 playlist. And last year in Algebra 1 in Chapter 13, we had 13.6b where we did radicals and formulas. So you could try checking that out too if you think that might help you. And all those previous videos for Chapter 8 are going to be linked in here so that all you have to do is click on them and watch them, all right? So if you're lost or confused, my best advice is to check out those Chapter 8 videos and go through them and just chill out and watch them and catch up on what you've missed. And if you did get it, well, that's wonderful, and I'll see you next video, and I hope you're having a great day. Bye.